Hello, everybody. What's going on again? This is Guys Talking Sports. I'm Al Qualls. Of course, with me, my guest host today is Adrian Catwell. Say hello to everybody, Ace.
What's going on, family?
All right. I have to admit, I really don't have a topic to discuss. I know that, first of all, let me say thank you to everybody that gave feedback in regards to last week's topic conversation about the evolution of a black quarterback. Um, I really love the positive feedback, the feedback in general in that regard. You know what? Since I do have a new guest here with me, real quick, I mean, Adrian, if you want to talk about it, I know you're aware of what we were saying in regards to about as far as the black quarterback at this point, how they compare in the NFL. Some of these quarterbacks, the black quarterbacks, I guess African American quarterbacks, I should say. And how they compare to, I mean, the top elite, are they top elite status? Just let's. I guess I mean, well, I haven't asked for your thoughts in that regard. So, if you want to bring in some input.
Uh, well, I guess. Oh wow, spicy. With the black quarterback, I mean, if folks want to take a look at Warren Moon, if everybody wants to place like a Warren Moon type of tag on what a black quarterback should be in the pocket passing type era, then yes, I guess Warren Moon would be your poster child. If you take a look at like the Randall Cunninghams of the world, Cordell Stewart, trying to think some of those that were in the 90s, early 2000s. I think a lot of those quarterbacks, Cunningham was way ahead of his time as far as his athletic abilities and what he was able to do. He was a great quarterback, but just imagine if you had a Randall Cunningham who had a great arm and the legs and stuck him in an offense who was really trying to incorporate the zone read type offense. I mean, I even look at Pat White, who coming out of West Virginia, was a small, lanky little quarterback, not the prototypical 6'2", 230, or even 6'3", 6'4", 230. He's more like 5'11", 6 foot, 185, fast as whatever, but just not durable. And you can see what happened when they tried to run a little zone read, and he got knocked the hell out in that Miami game and left with a concussion. But again, he was ahead of his time. I think Miami at the time had a good idea, but didn't have the presence of how to run that particular offense, in my opinion. Now, if you want to fast forward to today's quarterback, the Geno Smiths, the kid from Buffalo, I can't think of his name, came out of Florida State. I will admit, people out there in internet land, I am a West Virginia homer. I am a graduate of WVU, so I do have a little bit of a WVU slant. Go Mountaineers, taking down Baylor last week. But, it's all good. Just had to throw that little plug out there.
Nice plug.
But, I mean, I think if NFL coaches were willing to take some of the aspects of what made those quarterbacks, especially the black quarterbacks, good or great in their college career and try to sprinkle a little bit of that particular offense in their current offense in the NFL, things will be all right. Like, for example, with Geno, when they played New England last week, yeah, the Jets lost. Geno probably played his best game of the season. They incorporated a lot of the zone read scheme into the offense. They ran the ball tough. Geno ran the ball tough. Gave him nice, quick, easy passes to complete. I think if they were to try to take some of the air raid type offense and give it to Geno, I guarantee he would be a much better quarterback. But it also takes that you need to have some skill set on the outside to help, catch the ball. the Jets just signed Jeremy Curley to a 4-year contract extension. Come on now, Jeremy Curley. But that's getting away from the whole black quarterback thing. I guess in a nutshell, I mean, okay, San Francisco incorporates Colin Kaepernick's strong arm and his legs. Granted, they don't run the zone read as much, but if they have to, they will, and they will kill you with it because you're not prepared for it. And I guarantee Harbaugh has that in his back pocket. So it's no shame that start sprinkling that type of offense in with the quarterbacks. I mean, heck, I didn't watch the Steelers game, but I heard Ben Roethlisberger ran zone read on the first play of the Steelers game on Monday night. Ryan Tannehill down in Miami was doing zone read. So I mean, they're incorporating it. So if that's what they're good at, I'm not saying make that 100% of the offense, but give it a little bit more to make the quarterback feel a little bit more comfortable when playing. So I guess that's my take. Just my thing would be take a small portion of the offense that made them good in college, incorporate that into the current offense, and let them get comfortable with it, and then kind of get some other things in there where they can feel comfortable.
All right. But so here's my question then. So, because I mean, what me and Earl talked about last week was the fact that wouldn't it be easier for I know that the game has to adjust to the quarterback, but wouldn't it be easier for the quarterback to adjust to the game that, helps teams win in that philosophy?
Well, when you're talking NFL, you're talking about the best 1% of all NFL, college football players playing in the National Football League. So you're talking about the best of the best of the best. So the game has got to be, you hear this all the time, so much faster than college. Because in the college game, there are lopsided victories. There are teams that are much stronger and has much more depth and better talent on one team than the other. So there's always going to be some sort of lopsided game going on. But in the NFL, it's pretty much man up. I mean, the team might suck, but you still got some of the best athletes in the game. It's just that things aren't clicking. Jacksonville sucks, but they still managed to win a game last week. So it's just, I guess my thing would be to make it so that the game will kind of slow down for them. I mean, not everybody has the Tom Brady. Nobody's Peyton Manning. To be on that level. That's real elite. Those types of quarterbacks only come a dime a dozen. So if you want to take a halfway decent quarterback and make him a pretty good quarterback, like look at Alex Smith. Everybody thought he was a bum when he was in San Francisco. He was a top overall pick, couldn't throw in interceptions, was just horribly bad. And then finally, he got a coach that could actually utilize his skill sets, and now look at him. He was great with San Fran, and now he's playing pretty good with Kansas City. So I mean, if you get the right coach who's willing to put the right skills and utilize the quarterback skill set to their ability, I think any quarterback can be good. But if you're going to force a particular scenario or force a particular offense on them, I guess, and they don't succeed, then they're so quick to just toss that quarterback away and try to find another one who will.
No, I agree with that. I understand both sides of it. Because I was saying, if that the scheme for a lot of these elite quarterbacks, they always talk. Media is so driven in saying that the best of the best is these elite quarterbacks. Their passer rating is off the charts. And for a black quarterback, for them, if you see the statistics, they're not actually doing as well as they could be. And I was saying last week, maybe instead of maybe it would be easier for them to practice more staying in the pocket when it comes to passing instead of thinking about running all the time, with the built like they was doing in college. If the colleges that they choose to maybe focus more on being teaching like the fundamentals of being more of a pocket passer, um, that would affect them. Prepare them for the NFL when they get to the NFL.
Yeah, but my thing is, when a kid is coming out of high school, quarterback, black, white, Hispanic, it don't matter. When a kid is coming out of high school, picking a college that he think he can excel in, he's picking that college based on the offense that the head coach is running. With that being said, a pro pocket style type of quarterback more than likely will end up picking a university or college that tends to run more of a pro style type of offense. Now, a lot of these teams nowadays in high school are running the zone read, air raid type of offenses. And if a quarterback wants to be successful, especially if he's running that sort of an offense when he's now at 13 years old and he's progressed through high school, now he's 17, 18, running zone read or running the air raid offense, he's going to pick a college that typically would run something similar to what he's played in high school, because he can continue on with that type of skill set that he's learned and develop to be a better quarterback. Now, you're in college, you're in this particular offense, you are thriving, like Mariota from Oregon. I don't think they run a zone read type of offense per se. They run a very high octane offense that will incorporate some zone running and quick passing and such. But he's also very accurate and a very mobile quarterback. Now, with that being said, with those characteristics, and now you're starting to see teams sprinkle this zone read type of offenses in their arsenal, I'm only wondering if they're recognizing the type of quarterbacks, the top tier quarterbacks that are coming out of college this year, or they're recognizing that these college quarterbacks are now or in these particular type of offenses more so than these pro-style offenses. Because if you look at the quarterbacks who run a pro-style right now, Wisconsin, for example, they run a pro-style offense. Hell, Rutgers runs a pro-style offense. Gary Nova has been sticking up the place. Are you trying to tell me that an NFL team is gonna take a chance on drafting Nova because he runs pro-style and they run a pro-style in the pros as well? No.
Yeah.
I mean, these pro teams are picking these quarterbacks running off of these air raids, these zone reads, and then they're trying to convert them into West Coast offense type quarterbacks, pro styles, 3-step, 5-step, 7-step offensive quarterbacks. And these weren't what they were doing for the past 4 or possibly 8 years prior to. So now you're asking them to come into the NFL. You want them to start as a rookie.
But here's my question though. Like you said, like these colleges right now, the NFL. You already know that the West Coast offense, for example, is one of the premier offensive schemes in the NFL. So if I'm a college coach, I mean, I want to say, hey, look, that's something I want to incorporate into my system. It's a lot of positives from that because you'll get whatever kid you bring in, you could groom that person to be a ready NFL player once he leaves and goes to the NFL. Not only that, you can recruit more kids that want to play in the NFL. They say, hey, look, you follow my scheme, you'll be primed for the NFL down the road. Like, it would benefit both sides to I understand about the read option, but I mean, that's not really. I mean, it's being used now, but it's not like really the prime offense where a lot of NFL teams is using it on a day-to-day basis. A lot of teams are trying to incorporate the West Coast offense.
Yeah, I agree. I again, and I apologize, folks out there, when I revert back to West Virginia, but Again, I am a homer, so I am putting that disclaimer out there. But I remember vividly when Pat White was coming up, and of course under Rich Rodriguez, it was a spread offense, zone read, run offense. It wasn't even so much a zone read, run pass. It was zone read, 90% run and 10% pass. And I remember when Rich Rod left to go to Michigan, and Bill Stewart ended up being the quarterback for West Virginia. Bill Stewart, Coach Stewart, God bless his soul, he passed away, wanted to try to convert Pat White into more of a pro-style quarterback. And you saw that he was running less and less and passing more and more. And you could see how very uncomfortable he was, because that was not the type of player that he was. He was electrifying because he used his feet and was able to run past defenders. And what ended up happening? Miami spent a second-round draft pick on drafting him specifically to be their wildcat quarterback. And it didn't work out in Miami's favor. But again, I think Miami was a couple years ahead of his time in thinking the way they were thinking. But the air raid was around, but it was more like, I guess, the run and shoot. What's my man that came out of Houston? The black quarterback. Oh, he's old school. Man, there was quite a few. He won the Heisman, as a matter of fact.
Vince?
Huh?
Vince Young?
No. Well, no. Vince Young as well. I mean, I think he just lost his confidence. But
yeah.
I think he came around a little too early as well. I think he came out right before Pat White did, a year or two before Pat. So I can't think of his name. But nonetheless, I mean, I wish I knew of a way to say that these offensive gurus in the NFL can kind of work these type of quarterbacks into their system and make them successful. But I guess they say that defensive coordinators can game plan for read option and all these type of things. Yeah, you can have the best defensive game player in the world, but if your defensive players that are out there aren't disciplined, you can't stop the zone read.
That is true.
It's the game. It's the players. So I do think that the zone read is here to stay. I think that it adds an added element. Like, for example, folks are looking at the Redskins this year, and they're like, okay, Alfred Morris is having a crappy year because he's not running the ball right. And the reason is because Alfred Morris is now having to run the ball minus the zone read. When you have Griffin back there to give that hint of pulling the ball out and running the ball themselves, it makes the DNs and the linebackers honest, because now they have to be mindful that we can't just crash in on the running back because RG3 might take the ball and run on the outside.
Yeah, now, I think with Alfred Morris, RG3 was definitely the best compliment for him, because basically it was a choose between which one was going to eventually run the ball. So,
and that's my point. And because of that, so with that being said, you can only wonder if RG3 was healthy, would Alfred Morris be having a better year? Well, I guess we'll find out how well Alfred Morris runs the ball once RG3 comes back. But that's what here. I still think more and more black QBs coming out of high school are going to these major colleges. Look at Clemson, for example. Clemson is starting a true freshman black quarterback, and he's pretty good. We all know about the Jameis Winstons. Um, Look at the quarterback from Mississippi State, black. Uh, who else? I think the quarterback from Auburn is black. Um, Rutgers got a Hispanic quarterback. I'm just trying to think of the ones off the top of my head. Ohio State. Braxton Miller goes down. The backup quarterback is black. Okay.
Yeah.
Michigan's quarterback is black. Granted, Devin Gardner is not all that great, but he is black. We're looking at all these high-profile universities that have black quarterbacks, and it just makes you wonder. There's only so many white quarterbacks out there, but the ones that are putting in work and doing great things are the black or of some other race other than white. Marcus Mariota is not white. He's Samoan. I want to say Arizona has a black quarterback. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Now, the Big 12 is something different. The Big 12 has a ton of white quarterbacks, except for Kansas, and they kind of stink.
Kind of.
That gets my point. There is a ton of black QBs that are running some sort of zone read or some sort of air raid or some sort of high octane offense out there, and it's a lot more black quarterbacks starting now than I could say 10 years ago.
That is true.
And the more that high schools are seeing what these colleges are doing and having all these high-profile offenses, now the high schools are emulating what the colleges are doing because it generates points, it's more action versus the whole pro style, have your fullback, your running back, tight end, 2 wide receivers, and you run I-32 dive, and the running back is going through the B gap. Folks want to see points on the board all the time. So what puts points on the board? If you have an electrifying quarterback that's fast on his feet but also has a pretty good arm. And I'm not saying that white quarterbacks aren't doing that because they are. But you're seeing more and more black quarterbacks coming out there and really doing their thing, and Hispanic quarterbacks. Doesn't necessarily have to do with whatever non-white type of quarterback they're out there, and they're putting in work and they're doing well and they're getting D1 scholarships to these schools because these coaches want to win and they recognize a formula that wins.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, because if that's really what it boils down to. If they're not winning, then their coaching jobs is in jeopardy. So I guess I can understand them utilizing their ability. Customizing their plays to the particular quarterback as long as they're succeeding and doing well in college football.
Right, and it's unfortunate because it's either now high school is running these sort of offenses, colleges are now running these offenses. Now, what does the NFL do? Is there going to be a team that's going to buck the trend and decide, you know what, we're going to go down to one of these colleges and we're going to dissect and pick apart what these offensive coordinators and these head coaches are actually doing, and we're going to come up with our own version of this offense so we can put this offense with our quarterback. I see that happening within 5 years. It's not going to happen right now, but eventually you're going to see some of these, either they're going to go down to the college ranks and steal the offenses, or they're going to go down there and steal the offensive coordinators and or head coach and bring them to the league to incorporate that offense to their team.
Now that I see more of offensive coordinators coming to the NFL to coordinate the custom. I mean, like you said, it's a comfort level for them when they start being familiar. When a rookie quarterback comes in to the NFL, they got to learn the whole playbooks, and coordinators have to dumb it down, so to speak, to make it simple for rookie quarterbacks, especially those that's starting in the league right off the bat.
Hmm. I mean, again, I apologize. I'm gonna say this one more time, and I'm not gonna say it again. I am a West Virginia homer. I like to quote a lot of West Virginia things because I do watch all of their games. Disclaimer: we all know, for those of you who follow college football, we all know the Dana Holgorsen tree. We know that Dana Holgorsen came under. He started at some small school, eventually ended up at Texas Tech under the coach now that's coaching Washington State, Mike Leach. If you want to, and I'm just saying this off the top of my head, I could be wrong, but I want to say Art Briles, Mike Gundy from Oklahoma State, Cliff Kingsbury, who's now the coach of Texas Tech, was the quarterback at Texas Tech when Holgorsen and Leach all of them was there. And now you're starting to see how Holgorsen took his talents and became offensive coordinator at Houston. And you saw Case Keenum as a quarterback put up ridiculous numbers. He stayed there for a couple of years, and then he turned around with the Oklahoma State. In 1 year, Brandon Weeden put up ridiculous numbers, and Justin Blackman and Dez Bryant and all them jokers came out of Oklahoma State. The receivers, you see what they can do. And now he took his talents, and now he's the head coach over West Virginia. And you see what now West Virginia can do now with depth. But where I'm going with this is Holgorsen has an offense that he says can be installed in 3 days. The offense just takes 3 days to install, and it is nothing but repetition after the fact to get the offense down right. So you say if it only takes 3 days, then why did West Virginia suck if they had pretty much the same offense that they had last year minus a running back or two? Well, it may suck, but it takes the quarterback and the receivers some time to understand all the different routes and all the different changes that can be done when running a particular offensive play. So now you're seeing a totally different offense from last year to this year, and you're like, okay, it's all the same players minus one dude. What's the difference? It's now that they're more familiar. Now the question would be, if they were to take the offense from the college ranks and take it to the pros, is that particular team who's going to take that chance willing to suffer the first year, but also willing to keep the same personnel going into year two to then say, let's see if the team itself will click and be a better product on the field this time around versus what you saw last year. Just like with Chip Kelly and the Eagles. They started off kind of slow, and then towards the end, they just clicked. This year now, okay, NFL defenses are kind of picked up on it a little bit, but I can almost guarantee you Chip Kelly is always 2 steps ahead of a decent defensive coordinator. If he had a healthy offensive line, I guarantee he'd still be doing the same exact thing. It's just that, the offensive line is not as healthy as it was last year. So injuries play a bigger factor in the NFL than it is in the pros. In the college, but because it seems like somebody in the NFL is always getting injured every day. Where in college, kids tend to stay a little bit more healthier, but that's not always the case as well. But I guess with my whole rant and everything, I guess my bigger thing would be if whatever team is willing to take a chance on this coordinator, are they willing to take a chance and keep the personnel intact?
But it's not just the personnel that needs to be intact. What's really important is what the fans think about it, because truth is, if the fans is willing to say, okay, we understand it's a new system, this is going to take a while, so we'll be patient enough, then you have everybody on board. But if the fans is not going to be patient enough and willing to wait, and they're paying their hard-earned money to go to the stadiums and root for the teams, and the teams is not doing anything or showing any effort, quote unquote, then how would they how would they say, the fan would say, well, how would you want me to stay and look at this if this is going to take time, they may not have the patience to wait. They may want something done right then and there, whether it's fire the coach, fire some type of coordinator, fire the GM. I mean, um, take the quarterback out, take the starting quarterback out, take anybody out, put somebody in that's going to, as long as it jumpstarts their season. So I think the fans has to be patient as well. As if the personnel can be patient, that's fine. That's one thing. Even if the GM tells them you have to be patient and wait, but the fans has to be on board with that as well.
I agree. I agree. So I guess my thing would be if an NFL GM or owner or manager, whomever, were to sit there and say, we're going to take, I don't know, we're going to take Ohio State's offensive coordinator and we're going to take, add him to the Browns, and we want to incorporate Ohio State's offense into the Cleveland Browns. See how it would work out. Is the franchise in itself willing to give this coordinator 3 years? Is the owner willing to come out and say, people, I understand this is going to be agonizing. I understand we're going to suck. I understand all of these things. Be patient. I have a vision. I have a plan. I believe this can work. And make it so that that scenario can come to fruition. And it plays out in their favor. Is it worth it? Everybody has that win now mentality. And I think that's what really kind of messes everything up. Not every market is New York. It seems like it's only the New York teams that have this win at all cost mentality in LA. You have other franchises that are willing to build and wait and tough it out and see how things respond. But, what can you say?
No, I definitely agree with that. The big media teams, the big city teams, they had that win now approach. And with the smaller market teams, you can see that they don't need to take much as long as they're just staying the course, everything is fine. Like, I mean, case in point, the Kansas City Royals, they're not utilizing a lot they're just staying their course, get hot at the right time. And that's one of the things with the big city teams, like the fans always want, they feel as though that they're the team that needs to have it all for whatever reason. And it takes one game where a fan may just completely crush them. Like, this team sucks. We need to get rid of this. We need to fire this person. We need to get rid of this person. And it seems as though it's all the big city teams that are saying that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So,
If they can get over their big heads.
yeah, that's something I would love to see eventually, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that is actually going to happen. But I guess that's something that we could continue more about. Maybe that'll be a topic. How relevant are the fans in these cities, and can they be patient? Can they be actually say, okay, I know this is a growing process, and I understand that this is going to take time. I can understand that. I mean, a perfect example is the I mean, I'm not. Since you was throwing disclaimers, but let's say for example, because with the New York Giants, they learned a whole new offense, but it's not even past halfway through the season, and people was already calling, hey, these people need to be fired. This person needs to. They got to get it together. The defense sucks. The offensive line sucks. It's a learning process, and it's going to take time.
I agree.
And player will tell you that.
Yeah, I agree. But that's the mentality. Jokers just don't have don't have the patience to sit there and give it a chance and wait it out. If they knew how to wait and give things a chance, things wouldn't be so bad. But then you're also talking about New York too, so.
That is true. That is true. That is true. But I know we could go on and continue talking about it more and more, but we'll probably save it for next week's episode. So
Cool.
cool. All right. I would like to thank my guest, and guest host, Adrian Catwell, for stopping by. Giving us his info, insight about football and NFL in general, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.
All right, for everybody else, you can catch Guys Talking Sports every Wednesday or Thursday around 9 o'clock. You can catch me out. I'll send links out so you can check it out where we are on live. You can also check it on iTunes. I posted last week's episode, and I will post this one sometime around the same time. So you can subscribe on iTunes. You can subscribe on YouTube as well. There's a little link on the YouTube account where you can subscribe. Any questions, comments, please post them on Twitter. You see my handle. If not, is at IAMALQUARLES. Again, also you can catch me on Google Plus. I'm on there. I'm on Twitter a lot more now. I just sent the links out to everybody, so please check it out. Like us, comment us. If you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to send it. Next time I'll probably start the Q&A session for next week's show. Again, catch us on Guys Talking Sports on podcast. I have the links out for that on iTunes as well. Don't forget to check it out there. Okay, this is Al Quarles, Guys Talking Sports, Adrian Catwell. Say what's up. Say bye.
What up? You guys have a great night.
You guys have a great night. And again, I'll talk to y'all later. One.